started, if I could ask Commissioner Moore to introduce our person who's going to give the invocation.
I would like to introduce Mr. Reverend Henry Jones of River of Life. If you would, sir, please do our invocation for us.
Please stand.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for the many, many blessings which you have poured out upon all of us, and we humbly bow before you this day. And Father, we thank you for the blessings of this county that we love so much. And Lord, we ask that you would continue to bless us. Lord, your word says that the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord. And so, Father, we pray that the heart of these our leaders will be in your hand, that you will lead them and guide them and direct them. And Father, we pray for every person in attendance tonight. And again, we pray for this our county. And Lord, we ask that future generations will be blessed because of the wise decisions that are made in this room tonight and in the meetings to come. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I have also tonight, I have Molly Jones. Her mother and father are here, Kyle and Susan Jones. And Molly is going to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us. And one thing that you need to understand, Molly is telling all of her friends that she's going to be President of the United States.
All right, Molly.
And she can be President, and with the determination that she has, I'm sure she will be, and she will be my friend when she's President.
Miss Molly.
Speak into this and turn and look at the flag around the world. Go ahead, go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mom.
My teacher, when I was in second grade with Miss Floyd at South Chapel Elementary School, she tells me I told her the exact same thing. My dad was actually president of the Beekeepers Association. They asked what he did, and I said he was president of the United States of America. Not the same story. Y'all all know Miss Floyd, of course.
Molly, if you have to run against Mr. Merritt over here, I'm sure you will win, hands down. Thank you all very much for doing that. Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. Any changes? Yes, sir.
We're just going to pull that item 12. I noticed it's updated on the final agenda, but I didn't know if you were aware. So we're pulling that. Hopefully have it back to the 16th, but it could take longer. They're still hammering out the issues.
And item 10 is tabled till the May 16th. Is that correct? That's what it says on here?
Yes.
Okay. So pulling 12 and 10 tabled. Any other changes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the recycling task force presentation is going to have to be scheduled for another night. And I would also like to add 2 grant-related items. Hopefully I can do that as part of the item I already have on the agenda. If not, I'll do it under discussion.
That's fine with me to do it when your item comes up. Is that all right with everybody else?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is your Any other changes? I hear a motion to approve with those noted changes. So moved. Second. Made, seconded by Mr. Merritt. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. First is the public hearing number 1. Request board approval to conduct the public hearing and approve the acquisition of property necessary for easements for the Wakulla Garden Sewer and Wastewater Treatment Plant upgrade projects. Lane, you going to talk to this? Yes. Okay.
Good evening, Lane Lucas with Utah Utilities. This is just a continuation. You all know, as we've been moving through the sewer project, we've been purchasing lots as they become available in Wakulla Gardens. This is actually a double lot that the owner, it's a package deal. He'll only sell both of them, and it's the price that I think it's pretty much the price that we've been paying for lots in Wakulla Gardens. $5,500 a lot, but this is a double lot. The reason that it's even here tonight is this was under are in negotiation. It was the contract on it had been placed before we've kind of had a change of direction, if we will, in Wakulla Gardens. But the contract is out there, and it's subject to the board, the board's decision on whether to move forward with that acquisition.
Could these lots be used, are they in a lower lying areas that could be used for stormwater?
There, Mr. Mayor, where these are, it's actually, the reason we were wanting it is an easement. The roads in this portion drain to mid-block. They don't drain to the ends, they drain to mid-block, and we were collecting the gravity and then bringing them through the blocks. I think this is one block north of the true low point, but it's all in the draw that runs block to block to block.
I'm just wondering if we could use it to get stormwater from one road to another, even if we don't use it for sewer, which I don't think we're planning on doing anytime real soon.
I would assume that stormwater's their gravity system, if they're gravitying everything in there, they would want to go the same way we're going.
Just for Randy's benefit, whenever they're looking to purchase lots, they're supposed to be superimposing it over the stormwater information, trying to find lots that can do double duty. And even if it's potentially, even if a lot couldn't be used, potentially it could be traded or whatever for one that maybe could.
Or it could possibly be a park or something like that.
Right.
I don't think it's an outrageous price. It's a little unusual that we're paying the commission, but that's just part of what was negotiated, I guess. And this is all being paid for out of appropriation fund, not ad valorem, not county.
Legislative appropriation.
I'd support it.
I have a question, though.
Yes, ma'am.
If, even though we've maybe changed direction or at least slowed down in terms of where we're going with Wakulla Gardens, if there's still money to be spent on acquiring property, rather than lose that money, are we not going to continue to just proceed to acquire the property as was originally proposed?
I believe that would be board direction. What we have done is, this one was under contract or in process. We've instructed the real estate agent to hold off on trying to find any additional lots, but this one was in process, and so we decided to bring it to the board.
How much money remains, or how many more lots were you planning to purchase? About?
I would have to go back and look and tally up what's been purchased so far, and I know that there's quite a bit more to go. As far as Tim, you may have to help me with the amount of money remaining. There's still a significant amount of money remaining in the legislative appropriation.
At some point in time, though, we will come back to the sewer in Wakulla Gardens, so I would say continue on pretty much the same path, anticipating that we will sewer Wakulla Gardens at some point. It's if property's available.
Especially while values are low. A few years ago, these would have been worth $10,000 or $15,000 a piece.
Yeah, I would say
probably.
If we have money that's not coming out of the general fund, just continue to pursue lots that can either be used from the stormwater or for the sewer.
Yeah, you can use the money for both. We talked about that the other day, that it could be utilized for stormwater as well.
We should look for the lots that could be identified as stormwater, ponds, and that we could have to serve a dual purpose for the sewer. Absolutely.
Right, but I believe the legislative money is specifically for sanitary sewer.
Make a motion to conduct the public hearing and approve acquisition of the parcels of lands, lot 21 and 22, block 6, unit 1 in Wakulla Gardens.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I have one more question for Tim and Heather, maybe. I know citizens can go buy tax deeds on property that people haven't paid property taxes on. Is there any way that the county can acquire those properties kind of in the same? I think we should really look at that, because there's people getting all kind of property off of tax deeds.
Okay.
And if we can do it,
We can.
Yeah, we have been.
I mean, there's a way to, and that's another whole
totally separate
road
subject.
to go down, is when it's supposed to escheat to the county. I don't know that we do a good job of that.
If nobody bids on it and it's not purchased, it will eventually be struck to the county.
Okay.
But the county can also be a bidder.
I agree with you.
County can be a bidder, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry.
No.
You
I would
voted
like
for
to
it?
offer another motion after this one, sorry.
On the same subject?
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that motion is approved, passed. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. I move that the board direct Utah to continue to use the legislative appropriation to acquire properties for sewer, looking first at the ones that can also double as stormwater.
I second that.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Who, obviously the seller has professional representation by a realtor. Do we have anyone looking out for our interest? I mean, Lane, great fellow, but I don't know if you're a realtor. You know what I'm saying? Do we have anybody on staff?
The attorney.
All right, well, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Typically, they'll have you're a buyer's representative? Okay.
She's representing Utah.
Okay, never mind.
Or the county through Utah.
Okay. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next is
Thank you.
the second of 3 public hearings, which is request board approval to conduct the public hearing and consider adopting an ordinance amending sections of ordinance 11-02 concerning property maintenance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This first public hearing is an ordinance amendment. On February 28th, 2011, the board adopted a property maintenance code ordinance, which provided certain minimum standards for properties and structures within the county. This is just, there was a change made from the floor, and we wanted to make sure that the wording was clear, so we're bringing that change back, and that is to have the section dealing with the minimum building standards does not apply to owner-occupied dwellings. It applies to everything else. And the second amendment that this ordinance would accomplish is to, in the dangerous buildings section, it would remove the reference to vacant structures so that a occupied structure could also be a dangerous building.
Make a motion to conduct a public hearing and, I'm sorry, Ms. Sarge. go
That's
ahead.
fine, go ahead.
And adopt proposed ordinance amending the property maintenance code.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the third of the 3 is request board approval to conduct the public hearing and adopt the ordinance amending sections 2.256 and 2.259 of the county code regarding the county's purchasing code.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This, by the way, just for everybody to understand, was where we took out the bonding requirements so more local contractors could bid on projects. Was right.
It's also where we went to 10% local preference for projects under 200,000.
Thank you.
Right. So that's for the citizens, that's a good thing. So anyway, awards and presentations is next, and Mr. Martin is going to recognize one of our special people here tonight.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you. It's kind of a bittersweet moment tonight. We get to recognize one of our own, Mr. Doug Jones, our Public Services Director, formerly our Library Director. As you know, Doug's been with us for 26 years. He started here in 1985 as the Library Director when we were over in the old courthouse over here. He served us for the last 26 years with distinction. In May of 2009, Doug was promoted to the Public Services Director, so he took on not only the library, but he took on the airport, Parks and Recreation, probation, extension services, veteran services, and he's been a valued partner, a great employee, someone I looked to and I trusted, and just an overall good guy. So it's with great pleasure that I give Doug this plaque tonight, and wish him well, him and his wife Jane, in their future endeavors. Come on up, Doug. And hope that they enjoy retirement. And we're going to miss him greatly. So, plaque says, presented to Doug M. Jones upon retirement from the Wakulla County Board of Commissioners, and to acknowledge his 26 years from 1985 to 2011 of dedicated services to the to Wakulla County and its citizens, presented May 2nd, 2011. So, Doug, congratulations. Thank you.
Let's all go down and we'll take a picture with him. And we'll let him say a few things. Doug, come up here and we're going to take a picture with you. Not that you want a picture with us, but you won't want to.
I just want to say that I've gotten a lot of support over the past week when people found out I was retiring, and I appreciate it very much. I do hope I made a positive impact on library services in Wakulla County, and it seems like I'm getting all the credit, but the board for 26 years deserves a lot of that credit. The public of Wakulla County, the patrons of the library, the friends deserve a lot of the credit, and my staff are the whole reason why people think I did a good job. I had an excellent staff that entire time, and I was blessed to have that. So, seems like just yesterday when Commissioner Brock was about this tall running around the library, but here he is on our board, which is one of the few ways I can tell that much time has transpired. So, I just want to say that I enjoyed it immensely, and I won't be a stranger, and I look forward to continue to make a contribution to Wakulla County in whatever way I can as a volunteer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doug. Doug, before you go, I want to say, and I said this to the newspaper and somehow it didn't find its way into print, but just about your character is that you're just a kind, gentle man. I've never been around you when you were, I haven't figured out how to rile you up yet, except when they say they're going to take your funding away from the library. And but I can tell you that you certainly are a cornerstone to this library and to this county, and we're going to miss you. You are a steward of the people's money, and we appreciate what you do and have done for the county, and will continue to do in your capacity as a volunteer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Chairman?
Yes.
We have John Daly, the chairman of the Leon County Commission here, and
Okay.
I don't know if he's here about the Internet Cafe item or just to visit, but we might want to say hello and invite him to come up
Come
and say
on up, sir,
a
and
few words.
I recognized you, but I didn't recognize who you were in fact. But come on up and say a few words to us.
Mr. Chairman, I'm here on private business on an item that's before you later.
Okay. Well, in that case, we don't want to talk to you.
Anyway.
You're welcome here in Wakulla, and we thank you for coming. And we count you guys as partners, believe it or not, we really do. So thank you very much for being here. Okay, that's all the awards and presentations. Is that right? Anybody have anything to add? No? Okay, we'll go on to the consent items. I hear a motion to approve with,
So moved.
with 10 and 12 as noted. Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And then we'll move right on into general business. Mr. Bard, number 15.
Thanks, Commissioner. First item in general business is a request for board direction regarding scheduling and advertising a public hearing to approve placement of a traffic calming devices on Pixie Circle. As the agenda item states, this neighborhood requested that the county go ahead and install traffic control devices within their neighborhood. It's been a board policy for subdivisions to be able to apply to do that. This item is requesting board direction on whether to schedule a public hearing. As noted in the item, the budget is kind of tight this year, and if approved, we would look to postpone doing any improvements in this subdivision until at least next budget year, so we can program that funding in there.
Motion to approve to schedule and advertise public hearing on June 2nd, 2011 to consider approving placement of traffic calming device on Big Circle.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to advertise on June 2nd to consider approving. Any more discussion?
Do we need to expand the motion to specify for next year's budget or wait until later on?
I think it's fine to wait till the public hearing, and then we can...
Yeah, if the board ultimately decides that we want to, I guess we could take it up at the public hearing.
If we conduct the public hearing and we decide to do it, I think we're just saying, yes, we agree that, you've met all the requirements, which I actually made up when I was there in Cleve's job. And instead of people just coming to the board one night and saying, we want speed bumps, at least they did everything they were asked to do. And I think when the money becomes available, they're on the list, basically.
Okay. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 16.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the request board approval of the initial assessment resolution for solid waste management and disposal. This is the initial assessment resolution. It was originally brought last year, brought back to you at the first meeting in February. You elected to table it till today in order to further explore some options dealing with mandatory collections. Given that you really have two issues on the table tonight, one is the 112 assessment that would fund needed improvements at your transfer station, closure of your landfill. That's disposal only option. The second option you have is one that I will also let Commissioner Brock speak to, and that is to not deal with the transfer station at this time, but instead put an RFP on the street to get a franchised hauler who would then be responsible for finding disposal and taking care of the transfer station and things like that. Given that you have both of those issues on the floor, I would actually recommend that you take up the collection option first and see if there's board sentiment to pursue a franchised hauler for the county, and then, depending on where that goes, take up the disposal only option.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the initial assessment resolution for solid waste management and disposal services. That's my motion.
And that's in the amount of...
$112 a year.
Okay, well,
and now, at the same...
Second for discussion.
Okay, I'd like
But
to say that...
wait.
I would-
wait.
Second
I
for
wanted to add on to my
discussion.
motion, change it a little bit.
Before you second, let's let him finish the motion, and then we'll...
Oh, I
Then,
thought he
at
had.
the same time we're proceeding forward with this, let's do an RFQ and see what numbers are out there. What I don't want to do is say, let's do an RFQ, 6 or 8 months goes by, I've seen this happen many times, nothing happens. So I'd like to move forward with the $112. In my opinion, there's two things to mandatory pickup. There's political and there's monetary. Number one, we got to force people to do something that they don't have to do, which is have their garbage picked up. They do have to dispose of it, they don't have to have it picked up. And number two, we got to figure out what it's going to cost. If it turns out it costs $500 a year, we really don't know. So I would ask that we pursue the $112. We know that number's out there, and on a parallel path, let's pursue an RFQ, as long as it doesn't cost us anything to do. Now, what's the downside to this? The downside is that we have to pay for the assessment roll, which is what,
$15,000.
$15,000. But me personally, I'm 95% confident that the mandatory pickup, for whatever reason, wouldn't go. So I'm personally willing to move forward with it. That's my motion. Okay?
That's a long motion.
Yes. Evelyn, did you get
Second for discussion.
that? Evelyn got it.
Okay. Now you already discussed all of it, but you got any more things to add to it?
Oh.
Okay. Lynn?
Yeah, I do. I think, in general, I'd like to, if our attorney makes a recommendation, I'd kind of like to follow her recommendation unless there's a real strong reason not to. But it's my understanding that there's plenty of time to send the letter later. That we have time to issue the RFQ, have the information about the costs and who's interested in doing it, and that we can make a decision regarding that before we need to move on the letter. What you're proposing is that by doing both simultaneously is we're going to spend $15,000 that we may or may not need to spend. And if we decide to go with, when we get the RFQ back, we decide to go that route, then we've wasted $15,000, plus we've upset everybody by sending this letter about the 112, which we know people don't like, and the people who have been sending us emails and hoping for recycling are going to feel like we aren't listening to them.
If we can do the RFQ and still have time after that to do the assessment, I'm fine with that. Perfectly fine with that.
I think Commissioner Brock has we've looked over a proposed schedule today. There is time to do it. It's going to be tight but doable.
There's a lot of issues, Alan, and I'll speak to you about this by May 16th. There's a pretty large scope that needs to be included. We have long-term care of the landfill to be included. I mean, do we come up with that and we're simply looking at a price to go pick the garbage up and haul it off, and then we add in the other costs?
My conversations with the county attorney and with Tim today said they could have an RFP or an RFQ, whichever term you prefer, together for our next county commission meeting.
So, really?
You feel like you can do that?
Well, I mean, I think it'll be tight. I think there are models out there. You're not starting from ground zero. Commissioner Merritt has a good model for the transfer station component, and we would need to add in the collection portions.
Well, now, keep in mind, we still got to do the landfill closure. Is that going to be part of the RFQ?
That's my question. I mean, we got closure, and we got grant money involved in that. We have C&D we got to take care of. We got recycling. We somehow have
got to have a place for people to bring couches and refrigerators and stoves. And
I don't think dumping it on the ground at the landfill, is that a long-term solution? I don't know if Cleve's here or not. Isn't that just DEP's letting us temporarily do that? Is put C&D on the ground? Or is that...
If DEP chooses to make an issue out of this, we are in violation. So we're dumping C&D, or actually Class 3 waste is a waste, and it should be on a pad with stormwater or leachate control. And
we're already in violation of the closure anyway.
DEP is bending over backwards with Wakulla County right now working with us.
We're putting it on the ground, okay? The construction debris on the ground, picking it up again and hauling it off. And the plan with the transfer station was to combine these two waste streams together. Again, if we can do them both, it's kind of like going back to the horse barn. If we can do them and not skip a deadline, I'm perfectly fine with that, but I have my doubts. It's a pretty complicated issue.
It is a complicated issue, and I mean, our staff's been discussing it. We've all been talking about it for the last year. I think we've all are involved. I know Cleve's been involved a great deal. We've talked with his department. We've talked with the citizens. Those are questions, and I would encourage staff as they're writing the RFP, because we're going to have the chance to approve it at our next meeting, to make sure that if y'all have any concerns or issues you want to see addressed in it, that you've talked with staff over the next 2 weeks to make sure that they're included, because they're not going to have time for us to sit together at a workshop, draft out the specific details. If you feel that what we want to make sure is we include in the RFP that they covered the cost of closing the landfill, which is something we can do, we include that in the RFP. If y'all don't feel like that's something they should do, that we should just cover the cost of collection, then we won't put that in the RFP. But that's something that you should discuss. I'm comfortable with being in the RFP. But that's something we should discuss with staff as they're moving forward, to make sure. There's all different types of things. If you want to have them buy out the existing companies, which is something that could happen, talk to staff and have it as an option in the RFP that we can approve or not approve that aspect of it as it moves forward. If you want to have, 5 days a week recycling at people's houses, I'm picking something I know people don't want, but to bring it up and make sure it's included so it can be discussed. But we have a couple of weeks to get it together. There are models out there that we'd be using as a base, so we'd just be putting in specific details on top of that for our community.
I can tell you, me personally, unless I'm shown compelling evidence, I wouldn't be in support of a mandatory garbage pickup just on principle. Making somebody do a service they don't need. Recycling's great. We could do an RFQ for recycling vendor or something like that, or even at $112 a year assessment, we could do an RFQ for just going and picking it up. I'm just not in favor personally of the government telling me that I got to have a company come pick my garbage up when I can take it to the dump myself.
Well, and the argument again is going to be, my impression from the conversations that I've had with the citizens and the emails that we've gotten and the letters to the editor that I've seen, is that the people who are against the mandatory moving towards a curbside service are against us charging any fee at all. I've had very few people, maybe one person, who kind of hinted that if we have to do it, we should do the bare minimum versus charging a little more and providing a service. Most people are against the concept altogether or support curbside collection. It's been my experience so far.
I'm one of the ones against it.
Altogether. But we have to charge we're going to charge we've agreed we're going to charge a fee.
I know I have generate garbage. I know I have to get rid of that garbage. But I don't have to have somebody come pick it up at my house.
Right.
That's my contention. And if I want to recycle, which I do, good for me. But I don't think you should tell people you got to pay, and you got to pay for this recycling bin for whatever reason. I mean, this United States, you might not want to recycle. I don't know.
Okay.
You might take your cans to the place yourself and get your own money for it.
Okay, let's hear from Jerry Moore here. I think you've got a few comments about that.
Well, my only comment is I don't want to spend the $15,000 to do a mail out that we may not have to do.
And I agree with both sides. I think, Randy, you've got a good point. And I've talked to Heather about it, and she assured me that it would be tight, but that we could get this back in. If we can't, we still got time. If it starts running amok, we can come back here and do what we're trying to do here tonight. But let's move forward with this RFP or RFQ, whichever you want to call it. But I think we need to agree tonight to tell her the marching orders needs to be, let's include all the elements of it, landfill closure, drop site, all this guy, are we going to buy out the vendors? I hadn't thought about that option. What do we want to tell her? Lynn, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'm not sure whether we need to do one RFP or two RFPs, one to close the landfill versus the collection, and I defer to other people to make that decision. I have heard people say that part of the RFP should be to build whatever kind of transfer station would be needed for their operation. I would, in addition to recycling, I would like to have periodic pickup of bulk items like sofas and appliances and whatever, so people aren't bringing them to the landfill, but that whoever has the contract picks them up curbside once a quarter or however often seems needed.
But wait a minute. What? I hear your concept, Lynn. But what is? I change out refrigerators. What do I have to keep that refrigerator until that time comes around in that quarter to put it out on the curb and have it picked up? I mean, that's what I see as the issue. We're going to have people all over the county every day with stuff to dump.
Well, we could
put it in the woods. I think we're going to encourage more wood dumping.
See, I've lived in places where they just have periodic collection of bulk items, and people do save them, and then they put them all out on the curb.
What about somebody building a house, a contractor? What are they going to do with their C&D?
And I know
we have to stop putting stuff on the ground. We've got to resolve that issue.
Well, most
I know y'all
goes to Marpan.
Well, it's collected here and we take it to Marpan. We could just have people take it directly to Marpan. It's about 5 miles north of the county line, which is what I'm comfortable having. I mean, Marpan's closer to my house than the landfill is. So, but I know that isn't the truth for the whole county. But that's how that would be one of the solutions. Would be having people be able to just take their C&D to Marpan or work with Marpan, because they also have services where they bring the bins to your land site and they pick it up. When you're building things, usually when you're building things, you have a service that's dealing with it.
Well, that would be a political decision. I think if we're giving Heather direction, it should be pick up household garbage only. And we'll have to add the other costs. If they say, all right, we'll do it for $400 a year, we need to add another $80 or $100 a year to cover long-term expenses, so forth and so on. The only way I can see the plan working, the landfill, is no longer take Class 3, no longer take C&D, which is going to make a lot of people mad, and basically don't have any landfill operations at the landfill.
I think, and Cleve, we have a current transfer station that is small enough so that, let's say if someone didn't put their trash out and they, on the rare occasion, you need to take the trash there, it could still work, correct?
I feel like if we go to a centralized hauler, you're going to have that vendor could have a use our existing site, for example, and put in dumpsters for the couches and the refrigerators and that type of stuff. But that company will have them in dumpsters and will be responsible for getting them covered up in compliance with the law. A big enough vendor could have 4 or 5 trucks in here a day hauling stuff out, where we're limited with our ability to haul out. So whoever, if you go to a centralized one vendor, that person will have to take care of everything as far as the drive-ups. I mean, like if you're remodeling your house, just a room in your house, and you're just doing it without a contractor, that part of, I'm assuming the part of the RFP process will be to accommodate those people.
Very important. All those things got to be covered.
We probably have to, we can't be halfway in, halfway out, pick up some, not pick up others. If we're going to be in the transaction, then they need to pick it all up. I don't want to be a part that's just split it up. It would have to be just somebody who picks everything up.
They're more than likely, and it would depend on the vendor, but more than likely there would still be, probably at our current location would be my guess, like Clee's alluding to, a collection point for things that people don't have something. Let's say we have a once a quarter pickup for refrigerators, but someone's like, I want my refrigerator gone yesterday.
By that vendor.
They would take it to that vendor.
We're not involved.
We're not involved.
That's a very expensive option.
We would be out of the trash business.
But that's what we're going to get
losing
priced
money
here.
left and right.
And I don't mind
looking at it.
Randy, I've got this feeling that we're going to be back to what you're suggesting. I think it's going to be too expensive. I think it's going to come in, it's going to be overwhelming for the people to make it mandatory. It's going to be, because they got to go down every pig trail in Smith Creek and Sopchoppy, and we're not like a city. We're a very rural county with people who live. I've seen all the emails. I've had an equal number of emails for and against, and the biggest complaint is, how far have I got to drag my garbage can out to the road? And that's an issue for some people. Now, but I want to see what some vendor's going to say they're going to do all this for. If they come and say it's going to cost, let's just use the number $300 a house, then we're probably better off $112 and just keep moving ahead. But until we get a number, we're not going to know what it is. So, Heather, if we give you enough guidance to be able to put this together, or is it that we muddied the water too much?
What I think we'll bring back in conjunction with purchasing is, once per week pickup for solid waste and recycling, periodic bulk, but they can be able to call for a special bulk pickup for an additional fee if they want, directly from the hauler, in case somebody has something large, and that the hauler would need to build the transfer station or make modifications at the transfer station to suit their needs, or not. If they can get if they're happy taking residential waste directly from here to a regional landfill, we'll leave it up to them.
We need to provide drop-off point for contractors.
C&D.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that needs to be open.
Yeah, but that was my next point. But
Okay.
allow a site for C&D.
How about landfill closure? Did you say
For
that?
closure, I think you can include closure costs in the assessment without including closure in the franchise.
That's going to muddy it too much, I think. I think what she said, we can include it in the assessment, but just not in this RF.
And that'll give our local, if you include it in as it is, we're already starting to get to the point it's going to be expensive. If you want to encourage local people, you probably want to just have the assessment on the outside.
But if we don't do all this, then we're going to have mandatory pickup and an assessment. That's what we're going to end up with.
You're going to have
assessment.
You'd have an assessment
Well,
with mandatory pickup.
I'm going to have a hard time looking the people in the eye and saying, we're going to charge you.
What?
We're going to impose a mandatory pickup on you, and we're going to put an assessment on you. I'm going to have a hard time with
Well,
it.
here's a question, Mike, Commissioner Stewart, that is a good question. Do you prefer to see a monthly bill, or would you rather still, because my preference would just have, if it's $200, you had a solid waste assessment, that's $200.
Okay.
So and that would include everything. So they get it.
Yes, I prefer that.
Versus having a monthly billing.
Yes.
That's a good question. Is the response to this bid going to be in the form of a X dollars per household? What about commercial?
It would be they would have to separately bill commercial. We would get a cost from them per ton, I guess.
Okay,
for
so in there,
commercial.
this is another very important point. Walmart's got a big dumpster. What's going to happen to that? So this Commercial haulers can use whoever they want to?
No, they would
Currently-
still use the hall.
Currently, most commercial people in the community have private haulers.
Yeah.
That's where Waste Pro, Emerald Waste, Waste Management, I think, even drops in here and picks up some bigger customers. Now, some of the smaller local merchants, they do bring the waste out there, but the Walmarts, the Ace Hardware, those type of people have got their own.
That basically my question is, how do we word it? The bid response is going to be X dollars per household, is that correct? Now, commercial people then are responsible for paying a tipping fee and hauling their own trash. I mean, what do they do with it?
I would think that typically when I see franchises, it's mandatory for everyone, but the franchised hauler would directly bill non-residential establishments based upon the amount of waste, because it's too varied to typically make it easily done up through an assessment.
I mean, I'll change my motion if you guys are telling me we can still have time to do the 112, because there's no way I'm going to support mandatory garbage pickup, just out of principle. And I'm going to wait. I think the numbers are going to show it's not realistic either, but I'll wait. I don't want to be hypocritical and look at other things and not look at this. So I'll change my motion to do the RFP for RFQ, whatever it's called.
I put RFP, but I think it's a request for quote or request for...
RFP.
Yeah.
You fine with that, Lynn? That was your
Yes,
second.
I'll change my second then.
Let's get this done, and then okay. Any more discussion on this? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Moore, on the same subject, you had something to say about?
I just have a question. I'm looking at
Please.
the summary of the accounts, and I'm looking here at one of our haulers account closed. I'm looking at a second hauler account closed. These are our large haulers. One account closed 14,000. Another account closed 7,000. Another account closed 28,000. We've got a problem here in River City that all of the people who should be paying us now. I support our private haulers. I totally do it, but I'm not going to support anybody who owes me money. So if you want my support, you pay your bills. Otherwise, I'm just not going to support you. This is county money. This 28,000 doesn't belong to me. It belongs to the citizens of county. They're paying their bills. I'm just. You owe the county money. You're not going to be my friend.
What do you suggest we do? I agree with you.
I don't know what I don't know what you do. Well, I tell you what you do.
Not you, we.
Well, yeah, please. We can't go on like this.
Okay.
It's absolutely, you just cannot go on like this. We have to be paid, and we've got 28, 32, 38, 48. We got $53,000 of accounts closed that are our major haulers.
There's two issues with it. One, most of those accounts are paying us back on a payment plan and bringing any new trash paying cash.
When we close their accounts, they are not allowed to charge anything at that point in time. Every Monday or every other Monday, whatever the payback agreement says, they have to bring us money to Trice Lane. And if they make their payment to us on Trice Lane, they're allowed to use the transfer stations Tuesday through Saturday, and they have to pay cash each day. So the amount's not getting any bigger; it is getting smaller.
I hear you, but is there an option for them to take it out of the county and not have? That's an option, right?
Your waste is going out of the county right now, and I have no.
Then there's.
We have an issue with the flow control ordinance, which
there's a couple problems with that. Because our transfer station is too small, we haven't been able to force people to use our transfer station. So you do have people who are taking their trash, collecting trash in Wakulla County and taking it to other places. I've been told that you can throw trash away for $30-something a ton in Georgia, and people are driving up to Georgia to throw it away for less than half what we're charging. There's lots of reasons, but so that's happening, which also means it's another way we're losing money on at our landfill, because we're not collecting the anticipated trash coming in from our private haulers. But one way or the other, this will fix the problem. If we move forward with 112, or we move forward with a mandatory curbside, we will be collecting the trash in Wakulla County, and we will also mandate, if we move forward with the $112 solid waste assessment, we're then going to be licensing who collects trash in Wakulla County. That'll be the second step. So then there'll be fees they have to pay us to have the privilege to throw trash away in Wakulla County. We'll have restrictions to what kind of collection vehicle they can use, and we'll have flow control so that saying that you have to throw your trash away here or you lose your license to do business collecting trash in Wakulla.
With the 112, they would not have a tipping fee.
They would no longer have a tipping fee, but there would be probably a licensing fee to have, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
The suggestion was made to perhaps include buying out the local haulers in the RFP. Could it be made conditional on settling any debts?
Have to be.
I think that at this
Or
point,
to-
I agree with you. I think that may muddy it up a little too much. Remember, we're talking about trash hauling companies. When we get their number back, we can add on whatever we want. We could say, you got to pay us $1 million a year cash in December, if we want. You know, who pays for it? The citizens pay for it. We're not going to do that, but I'm saying let's figure out what the base number is, and we'll add the options to it. That'd be my suggestion.
I think the point that, Terry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think what I'm hearing is, and I agree with you, is that we have $64,000 worth of debt that the county's carrying for haulers that we shouldn't be carrying, and they need to pay their bill. I know it's hard times, but the bottom line is what Cleve's saying is they pay cash now when they come, and they won't be able to pay cash for what they got on the trailer or truck then, and they have to pay some amount towards the debt.
Right, they have to pay that by Monday before. And what, guys, you're talking about the flow control. The issue is that it's a capacity problem at the landfill. The commercial trucks, the compactor trucks, have got a bigger capacity than our compactor. This is a case where we were talking last year about the first time the assessment. You know, I've been doing around here for 15 years. Randy was here afterwards. The county's doubled in size, but we've done nothing to. The transfer station is the same thing. You know, when you started with me years ago, it's basically the same thing we had then. And so if we forced everybody to bring their trash to the transfer station, we would back the lines up to MLK every day, because it takes an hour for one of those big trucks to come in, dump into our transfer station, because typically their capacity is bigger than our boxes, so we have to stop in the middle of the dumping, change boxes, put another one there, and people are backing up behind them. So it's we haven't really forced the issue on flow control, because we just can't handle it.
The 112 would correct that.
Yes, sir. Well, building a new transfer station would, it's going to have
And the
enough
112,
capacity.
well, we really have no option. This is a state mandated heavy penalties if we don't do it.
What we're talking about in your office today, either we're going to go to the pickup or the assessment, but Wakulla County's got to make a major change in how they do solid waste.
And the minimum of that's going to be the 112.
Yes.
And that's not a choice that the five of us have. It's a choice that's been sent down to us. We either do it or we're going to pay the consequence.
If the state gets involved, then they'll start calling the shots here.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So I guess it makes item 17, what, moot? Did we vote?
Yeah, I would recommend that you table
Table
item
it.
17 until you bring
Your
the
motion to
initial
table on
assessment
item
resolution back.
17?
So moved.
Second.
I thought we voted, and did we vote twice on that? Yeah,
I would change my motion.
No worries,
Make
let's
sure
hold
you
it.
got what you want.
Thank you, Chairman, I appreciate it.
All right, item 17, I need a motion. We have a motion and a second to table. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 18.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 18 is, oops, let me get back to where I was. Is request board approval of the top 3 county administrator candidates for public interviews. As you know, we've been going through the process of interviewing candidates for the county administrator job. We had a list of 5 candidates who you individually interviewed the last couple weeks. You've then selected and ranked those 5 candidates, and we're down to the point where you pick the top 3 for the public interview and the meet and greet, which is scheduled for May 9th. Those 3 candidates, according to the spreadsheet and the listing, are Richard Reed, David Edwards, and Pam Portwood, in rank order. What we're requesting tonight is approval of the current rankings to interview the top 3 and to hold those interviews on May.
I'm going to move to approve the current rankings for the county administrator and schedule the meet and greet and public interview. And I'd like to actually do the top 4 candidates. If there's a second. Nope. Okay. Withdraw my motion.
I move to approve the current rankings for the county administrator and schedule the meet and greet and public interview for the top 3 candidates.
Do we have a motion for the top 3 candidates?
I would support Alan's.
No.
Okay.
Well, you didn't second that motion. The motion on the floor now is Lynn's motion, so we need a second on that motion. Do I hear a second on that motion?
Second.
Second. Okay. Discussion. I know we have some citizens to be heard.
I would like to hear, I know Tim's given some thought to what would happen at the meet and greet, and I would like to hear that.
I was going to, before we got moved on, I was going to just...
Let's get to that, Lynn. Let's get this resolved first, and I agree, we need to hear that.
Okay.
Let's hear the citizens on this. Hugh Taylor?
Thank you, Commissioners. Hugh Taylor, Martin Luther King Road. I read you a good ad. Experienced professional wanted. Minimum qualifications: bachelor's degree in public administration, related field, and 7 years of experience. Or master's degree in public administration, 5 years experience. Or alternately, candidate without a college degree has 10 years of experience, demonstrating progressively responsible leadership positions involving administration, supervision, and management. That is one big subjective mess. You all are educated, some very well educated. And personally, I think education matters, as does the dean of the Auburn Pharmacy School, who I've been in correspondence with recently. Preference may be given to a candidate who has fraud experience. Fair enough. State law is very important, including direct knowledge and proficiency with budgetary, procurement, and administrative-related solutions. Salary range, 75 to 124. We are at a crossroads in this county. Salaries and perks and sunshine law compliance were thrown out the window with the last hire. There's a lot of ways to save the citizens money with the right hire and negotiations and help the citizens. The next few budget years are going to be tough on everyone, and the county administrator needs to be a skilled person to effect layoffs if necessary, to effect real furloughs if necessary, and work habits that will help the county and save us money. This isn't a popularity contest or a contest to see which local will win the position. We don't need a beauty contest, nor do we need miscongeniality. We need someone who will have the education and experience to make the tough administrative choices coming. A person who can do the job rather than keep the job. The last time, I don't think Mr. Pingree was properly vetted, said so at the time, and I would be very, very careful in your choices. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Luther Council?
Commissioners, thank you for allowing me to speak.
I've looked at your candidates here, and I have a problem with Mr. Reed. He's got all kind of stuff, baggage that I see coming, and I request that y'all drop him from the list. There's article about him. I know you can't hardly go by what the paper says, but it's many papers saying the same thing. Different cities saying the same thing. And I would encourage y'all to disqualify Mr. Reed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead, Lynn. You wanted to talk about...
Can I say something real quick? I got the second on the floor, and I thought about this. I'll withdraw my second, and if Alan wants to make a motion again for a top 4 candidates, I'm not adverse to that, unless somebody else seconds your motion.
Right, I'd like to see if someone seconds for the top 3. We had a process.
I'll pass the gavel over here, and I'll make the second for your motion.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Okay, now, I know she wanted to talk about...
Commissioner Arts, recognized.
Well, okay. I'm not sure what to say.
Really?
No, I mean, I think we've had a good process that we've been following, rather than just have us trying to outshout each other for who we wanted to include in the list. I think we've tried to go through in a very systematic way, looking at resumes, interviewing people, and I also know that at the present time, before we go the next step, our staff and our attorneys are doing very intensive background checks and a lot of legal things. Anybody can go on the internet and read certain information, which I have done on almost all the candidates that have been of interest to me. I think it's important, though, to get objective, fair, accurate information before judging anyone. But I also agree that we need a very thorough background check to make sure that whoever is going to be our administrator is not subject to influence, who could be in a position to be compromised. So, I like the process that we've been following. I feel good about it. I feel good. I'm looking forward to the meet and greet. And, it's a little unfortunate. We should have had about 8, 9, 10 candidates at this point. And we had some candidates drop out after they were already selected for interviews, which please, if you're ever trying to apply for a job, don't do that, because it puts us at a disadvantage. If we knew you were going to withdraw, we could have interviewed more people. So we ended up only interviewing 5. But if we had our original 8, 9, 10, then I think we should stay with the 3 for our intensive public interview, meet and greet, and make our decision. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you. I hope this will pass.
The night I was sworn in, this came up, and I held the same position now I held then. I don't want to see us paying $110,000 for a county administrator.
We're not.
Everybody I talked to, I asked them if they were, I'm not going to tell you everybody's answer, but around the minimum, somewhere around that area, maybe a little above it. I think we way overspent on administration, county administrator. That's going to be one of my deciding factors. I don't care how qualified someone is. I'm not.
We voted to make it the minimum plus 20% is the maximum.
Well,
$90,000. That's the extent. And when we get ready to negotiate, when that time comes, I'm going to ask for some specific guidance from y'all, because I'm going to be the one that's negotiating.
Well, I guess it's all public record, but one of the people on this list I talked to said they expected to get paid what the last person got paid.
Then they won't get picked. That's that simple.
I had 2 people say they were looking for more. So, I think we need to try and find the most qualified people, and we rank them, and then we start negotiation. And I don't, if in particular Mr. Reed, he came here on his own money. He took a day and a half vacation time. He paid for his mileage, lodging, meals, so he's clearly interested in the position. So I don't think we should be eliminating anybody because of some starting point figures that they might have thrown out during the interview.
I'm certainly not disparaging the person. I liked him. He seemed well qualified. I'm just reiterating what I said that night has not changed. I've seen us go through 3 or 4 county administrators in my time doing the public works and everything. Personally, I like how Parrish did it. We needed more, maybe more staff than he had, but not what we ended up with. I just think it was too much.
I'd like to say one more thing.
It was a lot cheaper.
No, go ahead.
Okay. First I want to thank everybody who applied, because it's a tough job and it's an important job for our county, and so everybody who was willing to throw their hat in the ring, knowing that you were going to have a lot of scrutiny and so forth, I appreciate your willingness to serve. And I truly like and respect everybody that was on this last list of 5. Every one of you, I think, can hold your head high. For me personally, my rankings were based largely on experience, particularly with local government, and I want somebody who will start the job ready to go full speed and bring lots of new ideas and things that we don't know how to do even here, so we can do them. And I know there's been a lot of or some people in the community suggesting that preference should be given to a local candidate. And local candidates, fine, they have good knowledge of the county and the people. But if they don't have good knowledge of local government and all the aspects that are involved in managing a county, then there's going to be a long learning curve. And I personally don't want to spend the last part of my term letting somebody get educated and up to speed and missing out on all the things we could be doing if we had, a really experienced person on board. So that's how I came up with my ranking, but I do want everybody to know that I genuinely respect everybody on the list. They each have wonderful strengths. They're delightful people. I'm trying to pick a county administrator.
Okay.
That's it.
I think, go ahead, Mr. Moore.
Well, I have some information on Mr. Reed, of course. Maybe we've all seen it, maybe we hadn't. But in several contract negotiations, he chose not to go with the county, or they chose not to go with him, and it was all based on money. And I can tell any of the candidates, they're all qualified. Some have different strengths than the other. You can have a strength on public administration and maybe not have a strength somewhere else. But if you take this job and you even come close to the numbers that we've had here before, I'm going to vote against you. If my person should rise to the top, they need to be very careful on the number that they start talking about on salary, because I'm just not going to have any part of it. The benefits of county employees are just wonderful. I mean, they're great. If you've never been in private enterprise, county government benefits are just unheard of. But if you're looking for big numbers on salary, you're not going to get them from me.
Commissioner Stewart?
Yes. I'm sorry, I lost my mind in a minute. I want to make it clear to the public, I don't have a person in the running. I don't have a person. So when I started this, I started it completely objectively with the idea that I wanted the best candidate. I based it much on 90% of it was on experience, especially like Ms. Arch suggested that it be local county government experience. And then I looked at, the interview. I've done this a long time. I've hired and fired lots of people over my lifetime. And while I haven't done a lot in county government, I've done it in other areas in public life. In way people interview, I take a lot from that. Now, understand that if we vote to do what we're about to do, these three candidates go back to being on even field. Everybody's equal again. These three top candidates, and then we're going to re-rank them. The five of us will re-rank them and suggest and submit that to Ms. DeBose, and that's how it'll fall out. I'm going to say this as carefully as I can because I don't want to upset people, but it upsets me that a candidate would submit this stuff that disparages people's character, and they're not even here to defend themselves. That really bothers me. And any candidate that would stoop to that level really bothers me. Okay, I'm not going to say any names, but I really have an issue with that. Now, I think we need to go forward with these three. I hope that we can unanimously agree that these three are it. If we can't, I think we're making a big mistake. And if we can't agree on that, I think we need to throw it all out and start over. That's my feeling. If we can't go forward with a 5-0 vote, then I think we're setting up whoever gets the job for failure. I believe that, guys. I can't make you do anything. I'm just suggesting to you, having done this for a long time, that if we don't move forward unified and a 5-0 vote to move forward, whoever that is, I don't know who it's going to end up being, but whoever it is, I don't have a candidate, but whoever rises to the top and finally gets the selection, I may argue it up here, but in the end, I'm going to vote in favor of it because I want us all to be behind that person so that when they take that seat that first day, they are confident that they got the support of this board and they can go forward. So, y'all do what you may, but that's where I'm at.
Real briefly, I just want to reiterate that I'm excited about all 5 people that we have left. I'm probably going to vote in favor of the motion that we have before us because I do think we do need to show our unity as we move forward. I was disappointed to have so many people drop out at the last moment. We had 9 people, and it was frustrating to have 4 of them drop out. One not even show up on the day of the interview, which is a frustrating process.
Could have skipped that one.
You could have skipped that one.
If I may, sir, if we vote and do this, and one of our 3 fall out, then we're going to have 2. That don't drag somebody up from the list. That's 2 people we have. So I want y'all to understand that that's the way the process is going to work. And if we can't buy into that, then we need to throw everybody out and let's start over. And we got plenty of time. And we talked about a start date of 1 October. I want to get the right person on board, and I believe that one of these 3 candidates is probably the right person. I'm sure that one of them is going to be. And if not, then let's go back and start over. But I'm with moving ahead like it is now.
Any further discussion?
I'm ready to vote.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-1. That means passes unanimously.
Thank you.
5-1. I don't know who the extra goes to be.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Commissioners, I'm sorry, can we talk about the process now?
Yes, sir.
For the next, I don't mean to interrupt, there's something else you want to discuss first?
No, we need to talk about the meet and greet.
Okay. This is what I had envisioned, so please correct me or change it however you wanted. What I anticipated is having a meet and greet at the library. We'd start off with the interviews, have the candidates come in one at a time. The board asks the questions that they want to ask each candidate individually in the public forum. Thank you, Heather. Allow the candidate to present himself, maybe 10 minutes at the beginning.
Or herself.
Sorry. Discuss their experience or their whatever they want to talk about to present themselves to you. Then have the board come back and ask questions individually in a public forum. The questions that we put in the agenda item, hindsight, we probably should have just left them off and let you come up with your own questions. So I recommend either utilizing the questions that we provided or coming up with your own. Maybe bring 2 or 3 questions that you have that you want to ask the candidate from not any particular list, whatever you want to ask them.
I think the questions in tonight's agenda item were provided by us.
They were, but the problem I have, I don't think those should have been put out. I mean, those are suggested questions. I'm going to come with two of my own that's not going to be on that list because I don't want any candidate to have an edge on any other candidate. So I want to surprise the candidate with a question or two of my own. So I'm going to come with two of my own. Y'all can do what you like. You can take them off that suggested list, but...
You'll ask each candidate the same question.
Tim, are you done with the summary?
Well,
I apologize.
briefly,
I just want to see this.
after each candidate goes, we'll keep them, board pleasure in a different room, so they're not sitting there listening to each other's questions being answered. Then we'll conclude the meeting, have a meet and greet, refreshments. Public can get to meet the candidates and discuss items, and that's pretty much what I envision. So if that's okay with the board, we'll take that head nod.
So there is no citizen participation at this meeting, is that correct?
I didn't anticipate having the citizens directly question the candidates. If that's something the board wanted, we can certainly do that.
The time for them to do that is at the meet and greet, and that's it. I want us to be able to do the business of hiring that person right here. I mean, we're the ones who got it. They got to work for, and I think it ought to come from here and not citizen input at that point.
Next question is, are we using the same 1, 2, 3, and then average the number method of selection? I think we should. If we use 1 to 100, that gives somebody the opportunity to skew it.
True. That's a good point. What would you suggest at the point?
1, 2, 3. If we come up with a tie, mathematically, I guess that's possible.
Can you give us a matrix that will...
I don't know if it is possible, is it? Is it possible? Math guy?
Engineers and pharmacists.
You're the black hole man guy, tell me.
I don't know statistics that good.
I think the original
not Roberts.
proposal was for the ranking to be 3, 2, 1, and then some.
I think that's the best guy to do it.
I mean, we'll continue as we've been doing. If that's okay with the board.
Give us a little sheet with, maybe make an Excel sheet, spreadsheet that we can grade them out up here as we ask them questions. 3,
Okay.
2, 1. Okay?
Sure. Is there any other requests? Does that sound like a good evening?
And we're starting at 5, is that correct?
Yes, so I think it was going from 5 to 7, is that
It's
right?
next Monday? Next
Monday night. At the library.
At the library?
Yes.
Why the library? Why not here? I'd rather do it here.
Okay. We just thought it'd be more comfortable, but
It's
we
more
can certainly do
comfortable
it
here. We can be heard, people can sit out and listen. We bring in one candidate at a time.
Has it already been advertised?
Oh, well, that's another issue maybe, is the planning commission starts here at 7. So.
Well, let's postpone that and move them to the library.
What time's the meet and greet? 6?
5 to 7.
I mean, this is important. I'd rather do it here in this setting than I had down there. To me, that doesn't lend itself to a professional environment to do what we're about to do.
Okay.
I want to be able to have a candidate stand here in front of us and us be able to grill them. I mean, this is a big decision we're making.
Why don't we just say we're going to finish by 6:30 or 6:45 and go on?
Change the location.
Of the planning and zoning? Okay, we can change their location.
They're at 7, right?
Then we'll have plenty. So we'll do it here then.
We'll just
Okay,
leave a little
we may
early.
be done
Yeah, we'll be done.
if we take 45 minutes each. No, we didn't say 45 minutes each, did we? Is that what we said?
I don't think we gave a time for Canada. I think,
We'll change planning commission.
Yeah, I think it's going to be best to move
All right.
the planning commission.
yeah, they'll definitely run probably more than 2 hours.
We don't need a motion to do any of that.
Take 4 minutes.
Okay. Nope.
I would like
4
to
minutes.
make another motion if possible. As you know, we have one candidate who is traveling long distances. And I found it interesting, this candidate is a finalist at Zephyr Hills, and they held their interviews on a Saturday. Out of convenience, I think respecting the fact that other people have jobs and whatever. So, I already mentioned that Mr. Reed took a day-and-a-half vacation day to come for his first interview and paid for all his expenses on the first trip. And I think, he would view it as us showing reciprocal interest in him if we were to help defray some of his travel expenses. Now, his round-trip mileage would be about 750 miles, which is about $375. I'm willing to try to find an accommodation for him and maybe help reduce his meal expenses, but I guess I would like to make a motion that this board would approve covering his mileage, his round-trip mileage, to come back a second time. And there is money in the administrator's travel budget to cover that. So that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Okay, ties for lack of second, but
Thanks for trying.
thanks for trying.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Any more general business items?
Nope, that's in general business, sir.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to commissioner agenda items. Commissioner Arts.
Yes, I'm trying to get to them. Okay. My first item is requesting board approval to reconfigure the recycling task force that was created by the board last fall. Have you all had a chance to read the agenda item, or do I need to go through it?
Just briefly tell us what it is, Ms. Arts.
Okay. Originally, we proposed having commissioner appointees as well as designated representatives from many agencies and organizations. But we also said we wanted an action-oriented group. In the end, we do have an action-oriented group, but it's mainly citizens and some staff and a few representatives from organizations. And we lately became aware that the attorney's office thinks that this task force needs to comply with sunshine laws for meetings and other activities, which is a little difficult given the makeup of the committee and the kinds of activities we're doing. So the attorney recommended that we reconfigure the task force so that every citizen who shows up to a meeting is not considered a member, and our public works staff are not considered a member, and I'm not considered a member. That we have a smaller core group designated as members, and then everybody else can still be involved, but then they aren't prohibited from some of the conversations that are occurring and would otherwise occur. So they're doing important work. We want them to continue, but I move that we approve the proposed reconfiguration of the recycling task force.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Arts, if I can just ask you to, if you'll work with me, the chairman from Leon County has
Go to the county attorney items.
been sitting patiently, and if you will, let's just move down to item 20. I think we can dispose of it rather quickly. Is that okay, attorney, if we do that? Come on up, Mr. Chairman, and
I'll give a brief overview and then I'll defer to Mr. Daly. This is a request for board consideration and approval to hire counsel to assist Wakulla County in claims recovery for any and all losses incurred as a result of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill that occurred on or about April 20th of 2010. I've been following this issue. I have looked through I've met with every attorney and law firm who wanted to meet with me and discuss possibly representing the county. I have also looked through responses that other counties have received, a stack about 2 feet high. And going through all this, I'm prepared tonight to make a recommendation that we hire the Hinkle team, which is all of the various disciplines and specialties are outlined in the agenda item. They have a local presence. They're in Tallahassee. They have assembled a consortium of legal experts and subject matter experts, including experts in economic modeling, tourism, and government funding. They have representatives on the Plaintiff Steering Committee, which is the committee appointed by the judge who's overseeing all claims dealing with the oil spill for all states. And most importantly, they have been hired by several governmental clients, which would allow Wakulla County's recovery to potentially be larger because we'll be cost sharing amongst those government clients, and that's a big reason for me in recommending that.
I move to approve hiring the Hinkle team to assist Wakulla County in claims recovery for any and all losses incurred as a result of the Deepwater Horizon oil tragedy that occurred on or about April 20th, and authorize the chairman to execute the proposed contract.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Brock. Mr. Daly, you sat here patiently, did you want to say anything, or you might talk us out of it?
I'll try not to do that. I think it'd be beneficial to walk you through our team and walk you through the process and exactly what we bring to the table. First of all, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you very much for the opportunity. For the record, John Daly, 703 Live Oak Plantation Road in Tallahassee. I'm with JDA Strategies, which is my company that was founded in 2005. I have over 15 years experience working with local governments. The team that will be representing Wakulla County is a vast team, both on the legal side and on the economic side. From the legal side, we have a group of law firms both based in Florida and Texas and New York. The list that the county attorney has includes Hinkle Foran, Don Hinkle, being the point person in Tallahassee. I have Lisa Foran here as well, who's the partner in the law firm, answering any legal questions. Levin Papatonio, Barron and Budd, Morgan & Morgan, Beggs and Lane, and Whites and Lutzenberg. We have extensive experience in this type of work. In fact, we were participating in the Escambia County process, and it was brought to the attention that our team collectively, over the course of the attorneys involved, have recovered over $1 billion in other matters before the oil industry in actions like this. What makes our team unique, though, is also the economic side of it. We have put together an economic team that will work specifically with your staff and with the county attorney's office to identify not only potential impacts that you've already had occur, that might not be available, might not be known at this moment to your revenue streams, but also we can accurately forecast what could possibly be the impacts due to national perception of the oil spill and how it's impacted our tourism industry. In particular, on our team is Dr. Lance DeHaven Smith, who is one of the foremost experts in local governance in the state of Florida. He's with the Askew School of Public Administration at Florida State University. Dr. Julie Harrington, who is the Director of Economic Forecasting at Florida State University. We have Dr. Mark Bond, who is with the Dedman School of Hospitality at Florida State and in the Tourism Hall of Fame for the state of Florida. Mr. Adam Sachs, who is the founder of Tourism Economics, who has written extensively on this issue. Basically, it's a three-pronged process. First and foremost, let me tell you that when we talk about a contract, there is no direct cost to the county whatsoever, period. There is no contractual cost that will come out of your revenues. We work on a contingency basis, and in fact, all the other firms that have been interested in participating in this process, everybody basically has the same contract. It's all on contingency. Only if monies are recovered are our fees paid and our costs paid. So there will never be a time when you have to pay out of pocket from Wakulla County revenues, period. What we do is we bring in our forensic accountants, we bring in our economic team, we work with the administrator and your staff to identify every single revenue stream of Wakulla County, and we also identify any impacts that you have already suffered. Okay. From there, we also build the economic model specific to Wakulla County with Dr. Julie Harrington's office over Florida State, and we can accurately measure, based on future projections and the studies that have been done out there already, whether or not, due to the perception, you might incur future impacts to your revenue streams as well. From there, we come back to you. We tell you what we find. One of two things is going to happen. Either there's no impact, and we all shake hands and go away, and y'all sleep better at night knowing that you have done your research, you have done your homework, and there's no impact. We obviously believe, y'all being a coastal community, you will have some type of an impact. From there is not a lawsuit until you go through the process. In fact, federal law states you have to go through the claims process first and foremost. So if there's an impact, we would file the claim on your behalf, and then BP has one of two options, obviously. They can either accept it or they can deny it. From there, we come back to the commission. It's the commission's decision again to move forward. The claim will be filed on the basis of just Wakulla County. It's not a collective complaint that will be filed. And also, let me tell you, currently we represent Jackson County, Jefferson County, Leon County, and I did remove myself from the process and recuse myself. City of Pensacola, City of Cedar Key, City of White Springs, City of Tallahassee. We do represent the Leon County School Board, Jefferson County School Board, Jackson County School Board, and we do represent the Wakulla County School Board. So we will already be working in your community as well. And at this point, Mr. Chairman, if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions?
No, just to say that Julie Harrington does excellent work, and she's a member of the board of the Friends of Wakulla Springs State Park. She's invested in our county, so she's an excellent person to have on your team.
She's fantastic. Yes, ma'am.
Any comments from anybody else?
I just want to echo again, because I've been stating it for a while. I'm really glad to see us moving forward with this. I think it's important. I'm hoping that's going to have some really, I think it's going to help. I hope it helps us get out of some of the problems that we've been having. So thank y'all both.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add one comment. Kudos to your county attorney that made a very smart move internally, and that was last week there was a major deadline on April 20th to be able to basically file a placeholder in case the commission wanted to move forward with one aspect of one of the federal lawsuits that's going through with Transocean, and she had the whereabouts to know that it was important to file that placeholder on behalf of Wakulla County, which she did successfully, and I think that was a very smart move on her behalf.
That's why we pay her.
Absolutely.
But thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Ms. Arts, we'll go back to your items, and thank you for letting us do that.
That's fine. I would have let him go ahead of my first one if I... No, let me see. Okay.
You're on 19.
All right, I'm on grants, right. Okay. I'm requesting board approval to apply for 2 small grants, teeny tiny grants. The first one is La Florida Land of Flowers Community Grant Program, and this is available only to a small number of counties, Wakulla being one. And for a fairly short application, we can qualify to receive $500 worth of Florida wildflower seeds, and which we can use on the byway to try and get more flowers, or some other key places that would welcome people maybe into our county and along our... This is all part of an effort to build up tourism in conjunction with the 500th anniversary of Ponce de Leon's arrival. So hopefully this is also going to be helping to bring tourists to our county.
And we plan right there, Jerry's place.
Yeah, well, and actually all the places that get, well, depending on how far from the right-of-way they are, that get dug up with the sewer lines, whatever, we'll make good use of them, and I think we can probably get donations of even more seed, and we'll have volunteers to help plant them. So I guess maybe I should do these individually. So I move that the board approve applying for this wildflower community grant program.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, the second one is Home Depot offers a $5,000 grant program, but it sounds like it would be very useful for putting things in place at our community center site. We could purchase materials maybe for the community garden, the exercise trail, the tree canopy, or even to improve the energy efficiency of the building. So it's kind of a long shot, but it's worth, if you don't try, you don't get. So I move that we also apply for the Home Depot Community Impact Grant Program.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Only that I'm going to be preparing these applications. This won't take staff time except maybe the final submission.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All for the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Who doesn't like wildflowers?
Okay, I had 2. Okay, and the other 2 items I wanted to add on are related to the Big Bend Scenic Byway.
Ms. Arch, I think we're still on agenda items.
It's her, we added them under this agenda item because it's
Yeah,
about
she said she
grants.
could discuss them.
She had two
Oh,
more
okay, I'm
grants.
sorry.
Okay, these are two grant items related to the Big Bend Scenic Byway Corridor Management Entity.
Do this.
Okay. Anyway, the Big Bend Scenic Byway group just received $75,000. So that's good news, and that will be used to help put up some of the smaller signs along the corridor, the website enhancement and ambassador training program. And that will be not just Wakulla County, but Franklin, Leon as well. And then the second part is an announcement has just been opened up requesting applications from scenic byways. And our corridor management entity is going to put an application together probably in the next week or two. They never give them much time, requesting a lot of money so we can get all the signage in, all the big signs related to the byway, and to carry out the wayfaring and interpretation plan. It's a huge grant. And this was short notice, but I have Jessica prepared a letter of support, and we have a copy ready for Mike to sign tonight. If this board would agree to that we as a county should submit this letter of support in terms of this latest grant application. So I move that we authorize the chairman to sign this letter on behalf of the board.
And apply for both the grants you mentioned?
Well, we got one, but
okay.
then apply for this
Okay,
grant.
so second, there's no cost associated?
There is actually some matching costs, which we had talked about when Pam gave a presentation before. There are matches from Leon County, Franklin County, City of Sopchoppy, City of St. Marks, numerous organizations, and we pledged to match it. But again, it's if the grant's funded, and it would be spread over two budget years. So
How much we talking about?
It wasn't much, if I remember right. I know anything.
I think it was about $12,000 a year for 2 years.
That wasn't the number I remember then. That is much.
Well, but again, it's
Is it all monetary? Can it be any in kind, or is it purely money?
I think that was supposed to be cash plus in-kind on top of it.
What's the amount of the grant if we get it?
I'm sorry, I mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it will put into place, I mean, this group spent years literally putting together, bringing in experts to put together this interpretation plan and all the signage, and it will put numerous signs and direct people to our various tourist sites. But again, we already made the decision in an earlier meeting to commit to the match. That was decided already. So, and it's conditional on, one, that we get the grant, But, so this isn't a question about the match, because that was an earlier item. This is only, now we're applying, will the board agree to send a letter?
And we could always turn it down if we get the grant, even if first of all, if it's funded. Second of all, if we're awarded it, this has to come back for us again, and we'll see where we're at.
And I also encourage you to talk to Pam Portwood. I think one of the things, as Wakulla County getting the grant, that get some of the administrative benefits and whatever.
Okay. So we have one more chance to get out, is what you're suggesting.
That certainly would be
We'd be able to look at the budget picture.
That's correct.
All right. Any more discussion? All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And then my last item, and I appreciate the people who have been waiting so patiently for this item. After our last meeting, when we authorized staff to assist the sheriff with a study that's being conducted, I was contacted by a lot of firefighters and EMS personnel, and it was that study came as a surprise to them, and it's understandable that there was some disappointment and distress that no one had talked to them or sought their advice, since this is their field of expertise. And then there were some subsequent meetings with volunteer chiefs and Wakulla and whatever that then asked the board to conduct our own study. So I've put together this item, basically forwarding the request from our personnel and our volunteers, asking that we consider doing 3 things. First, that we approve scheduling a fire and EMS town hall meeting to give all of our volunteer and our paid chiefs and firefighters and EMS personnel an opportunity to familiarize us with what they think we need to know about their services, describe what they have already done or are currently doing to contain or reduce cost, hear their suggestions for additional ways to contain or reduce costs, and offer other suggestions, opinions, and concerns as appropriate. So I'm going to start off, well, should I just make that motion and then go from there? Do you want me to read all 3 and then let you? I'll read all 3 just so you know what I'm thinking. And then the second item is to direct staff to conduct a study of possible cost savings and also service effects or impacts that might be achieved if we were to further consolidate fire and EMS under our administration as opposed to under the sheriff. And then the last is, which I really think should have been done first, is to direct staff to evaluate the effectiveness and the efficiency of our fire and EMS services, to compare our services to services in other jurisdictions in terms of effectiveness and efficiency, and propose ways to improve the effectiveness and efficiency as needed. I'm envisioning something along the analysis that Doug Jones and his staff did related to the library. Because, you know, I think there's an assumption here that our service is inefficient, and I would like some data to confirm that. I think there are probably other places that are more inefficient. So I would like to have, the third is particularly important to me. And then there's also an assumption that even if that consolidation is a way to improve efficiency, there may be other ways that are even better. So if we're going to if we want to focus on our fire and EMS as opposed to any other departments, then let's try to do it logically and in a way that involves our employees and our volunteers.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Before we get the citizens to be heard, I want to just say and clarify the record here in a public meeting that I personally, with staff, the county attorney in the room at the time, I invited a volunteer fire chief to come and sit down with us. I want to make sure you guys understand that. That did happen before all this ever started happening. Now, if they denied it, I can't help that, but it did happen. Okay? The other part is, I had a meeting with staff the other day with Scott McDermott and the EMS director, and we talked about what you're suggesting there, Ms. Arts, and item 3 especially, where 2 and 3 of the cost savings. I said I want to be prepared to have a study that shows it under the board at the same time the sheriff submits one. And also, we talked in length about going out and looking at comparable sized counties and finding out what it costs to run EMS and fire, and then see where we are in comparison to them. So, I mean, I've asked that individually as a commissioner for them to do that. I think it's a good idea that we do it as a board. That's fine too. So, but just know that we tried to include the volunteers, at least I did, in the loop, and I don't know how that ball got dropped, but it did, and it is what it is, and we certainly apologize for, the perception that we didn't care about what you guys have to say, because we do. And I appreciate Ms. Arts bringing this forward in an item to include you guys. So with that said, Ms. Johnson, or Chief Johnson, you had some comments?
Commissioners and Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you today. I'm Delana Johnson, Fawn Lane and Wakulla Station. We did have a meeting with a lot of the fire chiefs, firefighters in this county. We're independent contractors, we're homemakers, we're state workers, city workers, business owners, fishermen, self-employed. We're your county's first responders and firefighters. A lot of us are concerned directly with this study about the impact that it's going to have on the services that we provide and how we provide them. In particular, the paid staff. I know there has been some discussion in previous meetings, comments that have been made. Why do we need a paid staff? We need a paid staff for all the reasons that I just gave you. We have a lot of people that have other commitments. Our paid staff, their commitment is that job. Their commitment is that response. If we have someone on their way to work or has children in their vehicle, they can't stop what they're doing a lot of times, and the paid staff, that's what they get paid to do. We're concerned about losing the little bit of control and the voice that we have if we move out from under the direction of the commissioners. We're concerned about our budget. We've had a reduction in our MSBU. Paid staff salaries were moved, and now we're being further asked to reduce, and we're doing all we can to look at those. And we just ask that you take into consideration that we're cutting everywhere we can. We always have been very frugal with the money that the citizens in our county pay for the service. And we ask, when you look at these studies, we ask for you to give serious consideration to both sides of it, because we as firefighters and first responders know what we need to be able to provide the service that we've been providing for years. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Brazier?
My name is Darcy Brazier, 60 Holiday Drive. It really threw us for a loop to have this study go to the sheriff. We don't know where it came from. I mean, it didn't come from us. Those of us that are here tonight, in particular, now I understand it may have come from the fire service. But what does the sheriff know about firefighting and our needs and our service and the service we provide and how we do it and how to do it better, or where cuts could be made? We did take a tremendous hit this fiscal year. We lost over half our funding when the salaries were moved into the MSBU, and then the MSBU itself was dropped. It was decisions that were made on false assumptions. Yes, we had some money. We have been a fine steward of the MSBU funds since 1985, I think it was. We had some money built up in that fund to do what we need to do. We have to rotate equipment, engines, $300,000 pieces of equipment. We have, 10 stations plus county fire, and each of those stations has expensive equipment. We are we have good equipment. We have it because we've been looking out and getting what is needed, and we had that funding to be able to continue to do that. And now that funding is gone because we had to use that money this year just to get by. And that money, if we don't get any increase in funding this next year, I'm not sure what's going to happen. We certainly aren't going to be able to start building that fund back up again where it needs to be, to where you can start replacing some of these old vehicles and that sort of thing. This is all things that we know that another agency wouldn't have a clue about. I think we are the ones that should be presenting you with the facts about our service and how we can, and there are ways we could save money, and we can address those. But please give us a chance to participate in this. So, thank you.
Lynn, I'm not sure. You need to help me understand how we're going to do number one. Are you suggesting that all the commissioners, that we do like a workshop and have them all come, or I'm not sure I understand how you want to do that.
That'd probably be the most appropriate, I would think, would be a workshop.
Well, I was envisioning kind of a workshop, but not necessarily one at which we have a preset agenda. You know, it's more an opportunity to let our firefighters and our EMS people tell us what they want to tell us. You know, so that's why I called it a town hall meeting rather than a workshop, but that's what I'm envisioning.
I don't have any problem. I think basically the fire and the EMS, you folks get together, figure out what you can do to save money and drive efficiency. I'd like to hear that. I have no problem with that. Mr. Darcy mentioned to me maybe last week or something about maybe the lowering of the amount of service that was given, and the fact that I may not be willing to tell the community that they would have a lower service. Well, I'm here to tell you, when you cut back on anything, you're going to get a lower service. And the people of this county need to understand that. In all departments, as we drive efficiency and move ourselves down to a balanced budget, we're not going to have the money to operate. And as citizens, you're going to have a less service. We would hope that we can increase the efficiency of government. But you won't have the same thing that you may have had, but then again you may if we can drive efficiency in these programs. But I would say from the fire department standpoint, y'all get together and bring it to us. I don't want to use staff time. Staff doesn't know diddly about the fire service and EMS. Now I say that generally speaking, but if you folks know about where you can cut service and make it more efficient, you're the people. You say the sheriff doesn't know what he's doing on this, then you come to us and show us where your efficiency is and where your cost savings are. That's fairly simple. That doesn't require a master's degree.
Let me just say what my position has been on this is, as I said earlier, I'm willing to look at anything. That's why I seconded Ms. Arch's. But I also, in my understanding, if there was consolidation under the sheriff, there would be savings on things like maintenance on vehicles, for example. Very expensive to maintain those ambulances. And if there's a way to do it using whatever, I don't know. And medical costs at the jail facility is something else that possibly could save some money. It won't hurt to look at it. I don't think the fire department's inefficient. Let me go ahead and say that right now. People, the full-time firefighters, I'm support 100% of keeping, and the volunteers, of course, need to be supported with all our efforts. That's my position. I don't think they're inefficient. Do we have some administrative areas maybe we could cut back in? Yes. That's playing itself out, I think, and will play itself out over time. I'd like to look at everything. You know, I'm not going to say I don't even want to look at it because the sheriff's doing it. Yeah, I'll look at it. That doesn't mean I'm going to support it. And I don't want to say I'm not even going to look at what they're doing because they're doing it. I'll look at what they want to do. I think it's good to look at everything. We got plenty of time to decide. This is not a crisis.
I agree. I think they want to feel like they're included, and I agree. I think it was kind of backdoor the way this took place, and we are where we are with it now. We're going to fix it. I said before, and I'll say it again, that we got to adjust what we need. I think it's not an emergency, but we need it by the time we start talking budget, which is soon. Is we need to talk about the possibility, and I'm for increasing the fire the fire MSBU to an adequate amount that will fund you guys adequately and do what we did by we knew that this was going to be a tough budget year when we did what we did, but I think we did the right thing. I'll stand behind that all day long because I think it protects the paid firefighters, and I think it's going to, in the long haul, be the best thing we ever did was putting their salaries in the MSBU. But I think we've got to adjust that now. We need to, I don't want to just go in haphazardly. I need you guys to tell us what you need to operate. That's what I need to be able to vote. I need to know what it's going to take. Is it, right now it's $60 or $61, and, is it going to take 65? Is it going to take 70? Is it going to take 75? I don't know.
We have a study.
To adequately fund it with the salaries in there. And then I'll feel like I'm educated to make a good decision when it comes to budget time. And that's going to be important. So that's what I'm looking for from you. Now, if you want to do a workshop, then that's fine. I think it gets too convoluted when you have this many people listening to that many people. I'm of the opinion that you need to do it and I'd be glad to authorize you to meet with them. I think you could get more done at that level than all of us trying to hear all of it and all of us talking. I don't care. We'll do it. I'll do whatever the board wants to do.
My position on that, as far as people have asked me, why don't you ask anybody? Well, I want something in my hand first to talk about. I don't want to talk in generalities, or whatever the word is, you know what I'm saying. Yeah. If we have a proposal and it says we're going to save this amount of money by utilizing EMS staff in the jail, and you can save X amount of dollars, then we'll talk about that line item. But if it says we're going to reduce this, no, we don't want to do that. We may end up with some hybrid where the volunteer fire department stays completely autonomous. I don't know. I mean, there's lots of options where they stay autonomous, but maybe somehow the fire, because those are the MSBU pays for our fire service. The ad valorem tax is paid for the ambulance service. That's our big cost. The fire pays for itself with MSBU, basically. Whatever we need to set it at is what we set it at. The ambulance service is the one that's paid by the ad valorem taxes. If we could save money there through maintenance, through cross-training, I'd like to look at it.
Well, we met the other day, and I've asked them to go away, and staff's working this right now, trying to get other counties of our comparable size. We talked about how we can do some cost savings within, and they've already found some ways to do that. So, they understand that they're going to have to tighten the belt. The EMS is now. That's a whole separate animal. But we're working that as well. So
I think it's important everybody understands too that the fire is funded by MSBU. If they flush their toilet less at the fire service, it ain't like we can use that money to go pave a road. You can only use it for fire. So, we need to set that number what it needs to be. The study recommended $75, and if there's a way to save money in another department by, you know what I'm saying?
Right. And it may not be 75. It may be 70.
Whatever.
That's what we got. That's what we need, a good analysis by you guys to tell us, working with, and that's what we said to Scott and Fran the other day, but Scott mainly was from the fire, is to tell us what it needs to be. What does that not? I need to know that. I don't want to just arbitrarily pick a number. I don't want to say 75 because the study says 75, unless we say we need 75. It may be 70.
They are the best people to give us the information we need. They know their departments. They know where there may be something they can cut or whatever. So if you fellows will do your study and then bring that to us and let us look at it.
Alan?
A couple of quick issues. One, what we did at our last meeting was give the ability for our staff to partner with the sheriff's department. That includes fire and EMS, as they come up, to make sure that it's meeting the standards, so that y'all have a voice in what's going on, so that y'all aren't being left out. What we're doing here tonight, and we have staff, we have paid firefighters, and we have our entire EMS is paid. I don't think we have volunteer EMS that I'm aware of. Yeah, so they're all staff. If they need board direction to have the ability to work on putting together some best practices and ideas, I'm glad to support that. I'm glad to do whatever we need to do to help move that forward. And I think they're already working on that. That's from the conversations I've had. That's been my impression, is everybody's working on that right now. I don't know if we, and I'm flexible on the workshop. If you feel we need one, Commissioner Arts or the volunteers and EMS, if you want to have a workshop, I always welcome the opportunity to talk with everyone as much as possible. If you'd rather continue to meet one-on-one, I know I've spoken with many of you before and after last week, or last meeting, but I'm glad to speak to you all individually or at a workshop, whatever's preferred, whatever you think is going to be most efficient as we move forward.
Okay, I'm going to ask some of the people who are here to respond about the town hall meeting. Initially that was the request that I was getting, and then it kind of evolved to a study. But also, I think I've heard some people having concerns about really being free to express themselves publicly because of concerns about repercussions or whatever. So, I mean, would people kind of give me some indication? Do you think this town hall meeting's important and that we should have that? Okay, we got head nods. So
would y'all rather do that, or work one-on-one with a commissioner? I don't think y'all going to get a lot done coming up here. It's just going to be the same rhetoric we got now. I want a commissioner to be empowered to work with y'all to take some action to bring back to the board and get something done. It's going to take time. Okay.
I will say, what Commissioner Arts, what you were stating, it has been my experience. I guess it's all going to be positive. Sometimes I've noticed people are hesitant to give criticism in public, or to make direct comments on direct changes. So I guess you can address those. I guess we can do both. Yeah.
I'm fine with whatever y'all want to do. So what's your motion now? Is it to do what you got here, 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah, I think let's stay with those, and then
we got a second. Okay,
Town hall meeting being workshop. Right.
Okay, so when you suggest we have the workshop? See if we can get a date carved out, or you want to let Jessica try to figure out a date?
Maybe, Jessica, would you maybe try and do that, coordinating with the volunteer chiefs and whatever?
Okay.
And EMS and...
June. When's the first
May?
time we start looking at the budget? When's the first budget?
Let's try
Thursday.
for May.
We have a budget workshop this Thursday, and we also have one, I think, on June 23rd.
So you want to have it at the June 9th workshop?
No, we've already got 2 things then. Can we find a date in May? Or we almost got them.
I wouldn't expect staff to have anything together in 2 days.
No,
Not at this magnitude.
I didn't mean that one.
They're going to have your garbage out.
Like Thursday the 19th? How?
I can't do it that day.
Okay.
I can do it the 12th or the 26th.
It's in May?
26th? May 26th?
I thought we only had workshops
Isn't that-
once a month.
Isn't that Memorial Day?
I make a motion,
Oh, that is, well, it's the Thursday before Memorial Day.
What day is that on?
It's Thursday, May 26th.
night before graduation.
I graduated a long time ago.
You need to go back.
Right before
Does
4
that
days.
seem workable?
May 12th,
May 26th. Thursday, May 26th.
Thursday night.
Okay, that's in the motion. Okay? And who made the second?
I did.
What time you want to do it? 5 p.m.?
5? Okay. And now, spread the word and let's get a good participation.
Here.
Okay.
So May 26th, 5 p.m., all the chiefs and us.
And EMS.
EMS.
Okay.
Can I get just clear on what we're having staff do? Are we bringing something back, a study back to you for that town hall meeting? Or is that
No.
just the formulation of, okay. I just want to make sure that we're...
Yeah,
Is the purpose of this workshop for these guys to try to convince us they're doing a good job? I don't need that. But is that the purpose of this?
No.
I know they're doing a good job.
Okay, I propose multiple purposes. To provide information that they think we need to know. That's been coming out to me. Some things we don't appreciate, to describe what they've already done or are doing to contain or reduce costs, offer their suggestions for additional ways to contain or reduce costs, and then express other opinions, suggestions, concerns that they have. This is their meeting.
I'd rather y'all have time, adequate time, to prepare how much you think the MSBU ought to be too. At some point, I want to hear that from you. So I'm like Randy. If this is just going to become we know you guys do a good job. All of us up here know that. Or I don't want to say that. I know you do a good job. Randy has said he knows you do a good job.
Hey, I know that.
Alan knows.
Okay, so there you go. So now you've heard it from everybody.
I think the MSBU would be useful, and then also the talk about consolidation. You know, because we've already discussed that with an earlier board, but now with this board. You know, I think to get your views both from the EMS and from the fire on what you see as the pros and cons of that. And
well, Ms. Arch, we don't know what to discuss. This is, you know, if we had something in our hands, and I'm just for argument's sake, that we could go down and discuss the pros and cons of, then yes. But I mean, again, I think that these guys think we don't. We think they're inefficient. We think the sheriff can do it better. Whatever. I don't think those things. I don't know if anybody thinks those things. I certainly don't. So I don't want them.
You guys, I
don't want these guys to feel like they got to convince me that, you know, they're not doing a good job, or they don't deserve support. They don't deserve funding. I don't think that way.
Darcy, come back and tell us what you think it's about.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that.
And most of you, you know, you do understand the job that we do. This is, like Ms. Arch was saying, a way for us to present our plan, so to speak, on how we can make things maybe more efficient, and there's many other things involved too, but it's not just trying to get you to.
Can I address Darcy directly on this?
Yeah.
Sure. When you say, Darcy, are you going to address EMS too, though? When you say your plan, like I said, you're paid for out of MSBU, they pay for out of ad valorem.
Right.
Do you guys work together with the ambulance department?
Okay.
See, this is a case in point of where I've been trying to work with this little committee. This is where I'd like to have, when and if we ever get a fire chief, I'm not sure when that's ever going to be, but hopefully soon, that they can come and speak with one voice for you guys.
Right.
Period. That it's not volunteers feeling left out in the cold and the paid. I want one unified voice speaking from one fire chief. You know, and that I think we're going to screw that up.
Most of us want the same thing.
100 volunteer firefighters and EMS personnel showing up and packing this room in is not going to do anybody any good, I guess is my point. We don't accomplish anything.
Well, sometimes it's important to listen. We may hear some good ideas that we then can decide should be explored. I'm coming here to this meeting on the 26th to listen and hear from our employees and volunteers what they want to tell us.
I certainly have time to listen. There's no question about that. I just like, what are we trying to accomplish other than listening? Are we trying to come up with an idea? Are we trying to, you see what I'm saying? I mean, I'll be here to listen just like you will, but is there some other goal to the meeting, some resolution we're trying to reach, or some, you know, because we don't know what's being proposed to counter it, you know?
Well, I think to some extent there are a lot of things currently in the works and being discussed, and this is an opportunity to comment on some of those. You know, Mike's asked for the MSBU. You know, I think the general the underlying theme is going to be cost containment, efficiency, maintaining services, and whatever.
Yeah, you've asked the sheriff for a plan. This is our opportunity to present you with our plan.
That's what I would like to see. I'd like to see your plan, and then we'll discuss it. Is that what we're talking? That's what we're talking about, isn't it? I think that's what we're talking about. Bring us your plan and let us discuss it.
At that meeting.
Don't get me wrong about it. I support the fire department. I support the EMS. I support the volunteers. I do that because you do a valuable service. But I can tell you that the people of this county are interested in how much money they're paying in taxes, and I support that. We have got to we've got to look at everything. There's no sacred cows in this county. We have to absolutely look at everything because we just have to look at everything. And the people are going to tell us. They will tell us eventually whether we've done a good job or not. It's 2 years, 4 years, or whatever. I'm just interested in the people of the county.
Okay, this will be a chance for us to get our word out.
Okay, thank you, Darcy.
Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make a few comments. I think it's a good idea to have a discussion. I know that, like you said, we had met with Scott McDermott and EMS director to cut costs. I know they're working to cut costs. I know they're trying to get in their 5% reduction in their budget this year. They've looked at where they can cut back. They've told us that they can reduce their overtime. I think the processes are in the works to do that. And I think this board has been proactive in cutting costs, especially in the volunteer sector. I mean, we moved the paid guys onto the MSBU last year and offset that with a millage reduction. On top of, we've also reduced the MSBU. So I think there was a twofold benefit to the citizens last year by this board and to reduce costs in public safety. So I think that we're there, and I agree. I think we should have a discussion. I think we should look at further ways to reduce costs. So I don't think anything's going to come. It won't be a wasted effort, and that's what I'm saying. So I think, and this is the opportune time because we're talking about the budget and we're talking about reduction. So I think we need to have that discussion. And maybe by then the sheriff will have his report out, and we can look at it and make a comparison and see where we're at. So.
Okay, let's move on. We're going to have the workshop. We'll air everything out then, and any more discussion?
The chief from Wakulla Station would like to make a point.
I'm sorry.
Could you come to the microphone?
Come on up here.
Thank you.
In the sheriff's proposal, it was asked for the staff, the paid staff that works for EMS and fire to work with the sheriff and provide him with information. If we're going to do this as a group, I would like for us to have that same availability to us, for the volunteers and the paid staff of fire and EMS working all together.
And our motion, I think, addresses that tonight.
Okay. I just wanted that to be clear.
When we mentioned staff in here, we're discussing EMS and fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Did you have any other items?
No, that was for options 1, 2, and 3, correct?
Correct,
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on now to citizens to be heard, and then we'll come back to the other commissioner agenda items. First is Michael Register. You did a good job too, Mike. Thank you.
I didn't come here tonight to talk about a different plan or anything like that. What I want to do tonight is let the county know what they have, and I mean some real world things from somebody who's running calls. I work every day of the week. I climb in that ambulance, somebody calls 911, and I run a call. And I'm going to run us back in time here just a little bit. Several years ago when we were operating 2 trucks. Actually, it was 2.5 trucks. We had 2 full-time trucks, and we had a part-time truck. And this one I direct mainly to you, Mr. Moore, because you said there's going to be a cut in service when you cut price. Well, it wasn't that long ago that a sitting commissioner waited 45 minutes for an ambulance having a heart attack, and which is one of the main reasons he didn't run for re-election again. Because the health issues. When you start saying cutting services on our end, you're cutting from people. It's not like I need to go pay a bill with the county. When people call us, they are in peril. And when you say that you're worried about the taxes, I understand that. I pay taxes too. My wife hasn't worked any years. She worked for the school board. I'm feeling it too. But the bottom line is I don't care what the side of that truck says. I care about the citizens of this county, and we're already at a point now where we were several years ago when the commissioner had a heart attack and waited so long for an ambulance. And that is almost every day. There are more calls in this county than there are ambulances to run it. And the reason you manage to keep a Band-Aid on a problem that you have that you don't pay for is because out of all your employees, you have 27 of them from Scott McDermott down through the fire department. And of those 27 employees, there are 4 that don't live in this county. That is something that this county never had before up until 5 years ago. I can remember a time 5 years ago when I would come to work and I would be here for 7 days straight and leave for a day or two and come back for 3 or 4 more because we did not have staff to cover the ambulances and the calls that we had. And now we have not only the staff that we've recruited and kept, whose rough edge has been honed down to a sharp one and have their skills, because you will not get an ambulance in this county that the paramedic that's serving you does not have at least 5 years of experience. He's taken his hits or her hits and her licks and honed her skills. You have experience that's showing up. And the reason you keep managing to keep a Band-Aid on the call volume compared to the number of trucks that are out there when they come in like that is because all the paramedics in this county, with the exception of 2, and like I said, there are 4 people in this county that don't live in this county, pay taxes in this county, and of those 4, 2 of their roots to their family tree are in Wakulla County. So basically you have 2 employees out of 27 that their roots aren't here or they're here. So these aren't people that are commuting here that you're sending away when you're saying cut service. You're cutting county residents. Okay. And it goes the same for the fire department.
Mike.
I'm trying. I just want to let you know what you got.
Okay.
And
you're done. We're moving on.
But you can speak on the 26th.
We've got plenty of time then, okay? I got to be fair to everybody. Renee Calhoun.
Hello, Commissioners. Long time no see. I'm sure you missed me. I've been very ill, so bear with me. Tonight I'm speaking. I meant to be here earlier, but for the administrative thing. So after doing a Google search of Richard Reed and speaking with people that know him or about him, I was shocked at the very least to learn when I saw Stewart and Arts agreed Rich Reed was picked as their number 1, and Brock made him his number 2. I spoke with Tim today. Background references and background checks and reference checks are not finished, and I know for a fact that the chairman and Deb DeBose were doing some of these things yesterday, and it should have been done weeks ago. When I started my background search on this man, if I had only found the fact that Reed's last manager's job was a 1-year contract, had not been renewed, I would thought of that it was no big deal. That was not the case. There was so much that going on that I need to touch on just a few things. This man spent a little more than a year and less than 2 years at just about every job except for his self-employment jobs. As St. Petersburg article states, Rich Reed was told to his face by the vice mayor at an open meeting, quote, he was whipped cream on a piece of crap and to run for his life. Another council member stated that even a simple project such as filling potholes hadn't been accomplished during his year-long tenure. There were many comments and articles about him, and more bad than good, from what I have seen so far. As I was trying to rationalize why you would want this controversial man as administrator, I kept wondering what you're basing your decisions on. Is it his paperwork, his Pingree persona, or your staff opinion that qualified him in your mind? If it is paperwork, I hope you have the answers to the discrepancies that I have found. If you just like him, that does not necessarily make him the right man for the job. Everybody liked Pingree too. It is the responsibility of each and every one of you to ensure this county hires the best administrator possible. Since there's no written policy, the residents must rely on you and not do their own research, and you must do your own research on these candidates. You also have the responsibility to ensure that the new administrator is a good fit for this county. This county is rehabilitating from not only fiscal irresponsibility, it is rehabilitating from a lack of responsibility. For example, there was no accountability whatsoever when it came to what happened with the housing department fiasco. Not one person was held accountable for backdating contracts or for putting friends on the top of the waiting list. No one was orally reprimanded, written up, or fired.
Okay, you're done. Thank you. Virginia Brock?
Someone else got an extra 10 seconds.
Okay.
Can I get a 10 seconds?
Have a seat, ma'am. Virginia Brock?
Wow.
Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to speak. Virginia Brock, 311 Old Magnolia Road. I'll try to be fast. I'm speaking for the League of Women Voters, Wakulla chapter. Our special project for this year, we plan to be keeping up with and studying budgeting issues to determine how efficiently you use our tax dollars. One of the things that the Florida League of Women Voters has accomplished over the past few years, which we are particularly proud of, is having gotten civics back into the classroom, so that at least we will now have people leaving the schools understanding a little bit more about their own governance. We're particularly concerned with your alternate requirements, or lack thereof, for the education requirements for the county administrator. I really think with a salary like that, you would be looking at people who do have enough education to understand. I certainly have a bachelor's degree in mathematics, but I don't have enough understanding of how to run a county. I think you need to not send a message to our young people here in this county that education does not count. We all know it does. Thank you.
Thank you. W.D. Lansford?
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm going to speak on a different subject. We know federal, state, and local governments are intruding into our daily lives every day. Well, I've made up a short list of some of the things that I have noticed that have been occurring on a day-to-day basis. Some of them y'all can tend to, some of them you can't. But still, it's quite interesting. First on the list, commodes that won't flush. Boy. Shower heads that won't wet you down. Light bulbs that you can't read by. Contaminated fuel that limits fuel mileage. Detergents that won't clean. Dishwashers that require pre-washing by hand to get clean dishes. Front-loading washing machines that get clothes questionably clean. Now we'll get into the local area. Septic tanks that cost a mint and fail to do the job. Ordinances that severely limit what I can do on my own property. Ordinances that require improvements on dwellings that I may not want. MSBU fees that I add to my tax bill that I do not use or need. No, I don't dump out in the woods. I take it to another state where I pay for that privilege. Digital TV that is unreliable and influenced by weather conditions. And here's one that I really like. Saltine crackers that with reduced salt content. Now, folks, you all, I think that when you look at an ordinance, you ought to look at it as, do we really need this? Is this something that can really help, or is it already taken care of someplace else? Now, folks, let's just use a little common sense in some of this stuff that we're doing around here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well put. Okay, that's all the citizens to be heard.
I don't like those crackers either.
Okay, we'll move back into the commissioner agenda items, and if there's no other commissioners, I think I'm the one that's left.
I got this is just discussion items?
No.
Okay, never mind.
This is the 25A, request board approval to direct the county attorney to research and draft a proposed ordinance regulating internet cafes. I can't make the motion, but...
Motion to approve.
Just so the public knows real quick, we have a motion in a second, but just so the public understands what this is about, is the internet cafes. I was ignorant to, I thought, being fat, dumb, and happy, that these were just what the word said was internet cafes.
Actually, go there and eat.
Look at all the smart. Go there and use the internet. I mean, that is what you do. You go in and you get a ticket and you play numbers, and it's gambling. We need to regulate it. We already have one here. We've had one that I think failed, and we got another one that's made an application to do it here. So expect that they're going to explode. Apparently, Leon County's got about 12 or 15 of them, and we just need to be ready, but kind of headed off and have so we can regulate them ahead of the game. So anyway, just so the public understands. Any more discussion?
I want to thank you, Commissioner Stewart, for bringing this issue up. I really appreciate it. I also want to say there are also regular internet cafes in Wakulla County. This is not applying to places where people go to use the internet to check their email or work, maybe do some co-working at the co-working cafe. These are just specifically gambling-only internet cafes.
Good point.
Mr. Stewart, the FCC just closed down the two of the largest operators that these cafes funneled into, so they're going to have an impossible time to make $1.
Well, I know Leon County's just written an ordinance to regulate them in their county because it's gotten out of hand up there. A lot of unscrupulous characters hang out apparently in these places, and many times, and bring other bad conduct with them, other than what they were designed to do. So we just need to get ahead of the game, and I appreciate y'all supporting this. So, all for the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And we've already done the county attorney items. Any more, Ms. Encinosa? You're fine. County administrator?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I just have one quick announcement. I found out over the weekend that our Extension Services Director, Mr. Scott Jackson, has moved on. He's going to be taking another position over in Bay County. So that was very unfortunate to hear. Scott's a great employee, huge asset to the community, and I'm sorry to see him move on, but I'm glad in the same sense that it's a better opportunity for him, it's closer to family, so I think it'll be a win for him. But just to give you an update, I know, rumors getting around, something happened. That's the issue. Scott's got another job offer.
Now that's filled by the University of Florida. We don't have
a portion of it is. We pay, I think, 50%.
So do we have a part in the hiring process, or does University
Well,
of
I'm
Florida?
going to meet with the district director on Wednesday, Dr. Virgo, and in the interim, they're going to appoint Shelley Swenson as the interim director until such time they decide whether they're going to try to refill it or what the board wants to do as well. So we should see some cost savings this year in that we won't have a vacant position for a little while at least. And then
I'd like to see Shelley take that position if at all possible.
well, Shelley is very qualified. She used to be a community college president, so I think she's qualified if she wants a position. I don't know if she's in the stage of her career that she wants to take another job full time as a director, but that's what we're going to meet about on Wednesday. So I just wanted to give you a heads up and let you know the turn of events. So
okay,
thanks.
Is that it?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Barton a question?
You can.
Please tell us the status of the horse arena.
Well, I was out there on Friday, and it seemed almost done. I've been told that it's been completed. It was finished at 6 o'clock on Saturday night, the deadline for the grant. I think all the invoices are in, if that's well, I'll speak too soon. But we're collecting all those. We're going to get ready. We have 30 days to submit them to the state for reimbursement. So I'm optimistic that we'll be all set.
I think so.
I'm glad, Mr. Moore, you voted against it because you didn't think they could do it. I'm glad they did. Yeah, I know you said you hoped they would.
I voted against it and hoped they could.
And apparently they did, so...
That's cutting it close, though,
I'll
isn't
stop
it?
asking about it.
Yeah, I think we're...
As long as we, in the future, don't let it get down to the...
I agree. I agree.
We'll have a dedication ceremony and all that, so the board can pat themselves on the back for a job well done.
Anything else, Mr. Merritt, under discussion items?
I have under discussion, I don't know if you wanted to start with me and
I'll start with you.
All right, on the fire, Heather, this question for you. I know you can charge an MSBU for fire, and I know the one for EMS has been shot down. Well, constitutionally, I don't think you can charge MSBU.
I didn't mean to move my head, I apologize.
I can talk about that a little bit.
In other words, could all rescue services, if someone had a heart attack, could they just call the fire department and it'd be a fire rescue? And the only reason I'm asking this is, my view of taxation is that if we could pay for it with an assessment that everybody pays, instead of paying it out of ad valorem taxes, I think that's more fair. But I don't know if we can legally do that. Well, my inclination would be no, we can't, but...
Actually, if the county is put into a RASIC, which is what we are waiting to hear from the governor on, hopefully any day, there is actually a special statute, 125-271 Florida statutes, that would allow you to put in an assessment for EMS.
Not a millage, but
Not a millage.
Flat assessment.
It's an assessment based upon benefit.
That's...
It'd be similar to your fire assessment. You could then do it for EMS. Without that special statute, your first point about it being struck down by the courts was correct. It was struck down, but if you can take advantage of the statutory authority, that gets you over that hump.
To me, that would be absolutely ideal.
Yes,
We could take a huge chunk. I wish we could do it for law enforcement, too.
$1.1 million out of the general
Which is a
fund.
huge chunk. We could lower our millage rate down 3 or 4
Can't do it
mills
for
if
law.
we didn't have to pay for it. I know you can't do it for law enforcement. Next one, I don't want to sound bloodthirsty or
Before we leave that, could I just make a comment about the $1.4 million? Because it's my understanding that EMS is bringing in revenue that offsets that 1.45, so it's really more like 700,000 or 800,000.
No, ma'am. They bring in 700,000. It costs us 1.1 million to run EMS.
On top of the 700,000?
No, the budget is 1.8, and they bring in about 700, so
1.1 million out of the general fund every year. And
Is that valorem?
I wouldn't care what it was,
Unrecouped.
schools, whatever, but if there's a fair way to tax it,
I'm with you. I was just, the numbers weren't sounding right to me, but I'm wrong.
And we
Sorry.
we talked about that the other day, and I'm glad you brought it up. That was one of the things that I suggested that and they found a way. They say they found a way already to cut over 100,000 for this fiscal year or coming fiscal year, and or be able to return that money this fiscal year. And in addition to that, we're looking at surrounding counties to see what they do and the collection rate. We got to try to get the collection rate up. That's where the big issue is. So, and it's tough because Medicaid, Medicare, you have to write off so much, and like they said here tonight, the gentleman stood there and said, when they call, we have to go get them. We have no choice. We can't say no. We're not going to come get you.
you can't say you didn't pay your bill, we're not going to pick you up.
Right. So we have an obligation to pick them up. So anyway, I suggest you sit down with those guys and understand it better, but if you don't already. But anyway.
Next item, don't want to sound bloodthirsty, but sure I'm glad to see Osama bin Laden dead. I know it's got nothing to do with us, but...
And you're right.
Everybody can agree on that one,
Yes.
I think. Most
Yeah.
everybody.
And the Navy did that, by the way, so I just wanted to... Mr. Brock, anything?
I think Commissioner Merritt gave a good point there, and we'll end on that.
Okay.
I believe there's a difference between the Navy and the Navy SEAL.
Oh, no.
Daylight and dark.
There's no difference.
You were in the Navy, Mike.
All
right.
Don't get me started.
Here we go.
The Army flew him in there, though.
Whatever it was, they did a great job.
Yeah.
I would like to say thank you for Jessica. We've gone from a book this thick on our meetings, waste of all the paper, time, and her having to recalculate and reissue and reprint. Everything we do here of a day is on the computer. So thank you, Jessica. She has a cold, so she can't say anything. So, but anyway, the county employees gave up 5% on their budget. I'm going to make a contribution to the animal shelter for the same amount. Also, if any of you have children who need a dog, go to the animal shelter or chat and pick you up a dog or a cat. I'm sure when you go there, you will not. I'm going to bring a dog here. Can I bring a dog up here next time?
No, sir. No animals. Ms. Hart?
No.
Nothing? Okay, I hear.
So moved. Second.
We're gone. Thank y'all. Sorry, Jerry. We do that, let me bring them in here while they're
Your heart was in the right place, though.
I'd love to see my horn flat.
Oh.
I'm gonna bring my